You're listening to Screaming Goat Radio with Kevin and Chris, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Welcome to the show endorsed by Howard Stern's cousin's babysitter. Screaming Goat Radio. Don't fuck it up, Kevin and Chris. Tweet the guys during the show at SG Radio LA. We know you have a lot of choices on the internet. So from all of us here at Screaming Goat Radio, we just want to say thanks for choosing us over porn.
Welcome to Screaming Go Radio. Chris, you're still feeling our intro a year and a half into it. I like that.
Yeah, sore loser.
Sore
loser. Throwing chairs in my face there just because I beat you.
I won the first couple. You know,
you won the first heat.
You won
the first heat. That was a qualifying.
It was the
heat.
best. It was the best 2 out of 3, and I won 2. So the third one, I was basically just phoning it in.
You won 2 qualifying.
I didn't want to stomp you. I didn't want to win all 3.
You got to win the championship.
What kind of co-host would I be?
Just like with the playoffs.
Yeah.
I beat you every week in the playoffs, but then you won when it counted, supposedly, with the Super Bowl prediction.
That is true.
So, yeah, I won when it counted, and I won going backwards.
It's funny because you, during the whole Super Bowl predictions, you were just telling me over and over again how you won the majority of them, that you had the best record in the postseason. It's a very convenient narrative now that you're saying that, you know, you won the last heat and I won the last. So then, did I win our Super Bowl predictions then?
I don't know.
Not the Super Bowl. Did I win our football playoff predictions?
I don't know why you're bringing up old stuff, trying to change the subject and stuff.
Yeah.
You lost, fair and square.
Didn't you just talk about the Super Bowl predictions?
I may have, but that was old stuff.
Okay.
We've moved beyond that now.
Well, we have plenty of new stuff here on this episode of Screaming Goat Radio. This is not an old show. This is not a repeat show. This is brand new content for everyone out there. Welcome to Screaming Goat Radio. Thank you so much for listening. We have some headlines on the show today. We're going to get into the Grammys. A little recap and talk about
Grammys.
that. Yeah, no one's really talking about the Grammys. We feel like we need to here on the show.
Did they give out awards that night?
You know what? I'm not sure they did. There were a lot of performances though, and then I think it's a crawl at the end of all the awards that won. So we're going to get into the Grammys here with our headlines here in a bit. We're going to talk a little Jon Stewart. He's leaving The Daily Show, and then Brian Williams. I know. We do break the news here, and you're totally out of the loop on everything we talk about here on the show. So that's going to be an interesting conversation.
No, John,
so
no.
You'll have 5 or 7 minutes to get up to speed.
God, he's my favorite, though.
He's very good.
Why, Johnny boy? Why?
And then someone that probably maybe was your favorite, but not anymore. We'll talk about Brian Williams and his suspension. You're just all just devastated. And then we're going to talk about kitties, Chris, and puppies and little baby chickens.
Kitties and puppies and baby chickens?
I just figured that was something that you can't be devastated about.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
There we go. All right. He's back. He's back, everybody. And then we're going to have JT Bach, our box office analyst. He's going to preview the Oscars here in about 20 minutes. Oscars in 2 weeks. And he'll be
always
on here.
A pleasure speaking with Mr. Bach.
Fantastic. Good guest, good information. And then we're going to close out.
Great kisser.
on the mouth? Or?
On the mouth.
He's a great mouth kisser.
I haven't kissed him, but I've heard good things.
Heard great things?
Yeah, I just want to give him his due. I want to give him a shout out.
Maybe you should...
multi-talented,
You should check it out firsthand.
Yeah.
You know? I like to throw stuff around unless I know for sure, Chris. So, you know.
True. We
do have a lot of journalistic integrity on this show. I feel like you should be the one to hit the streets and find out if this story is true.
I don't want to Brian Williams it. So you're right. We probably should confirm this before I'm throwing out all these stories.
It's a timely reference. I love it.
Yeah.
So confirm that. Maybe we can ask him when we have him on the show today. You know, maybe we can get it right from him how good of a kisser he is, and if
he could just lie to us, Kevin.
And he is going to come on this show to talk about the Oscars after.
In a couple weeks. Yeah.
We might have a chance to set up a little video radio bit here for you. Be careful what you ask for, Chris.
Great.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
You can't use a sick day that day, okay? We don't have them here
I've
on
been
this
piling
show.
them up.
We don't have them here on
for
this show.
emergencies.
Yeah. And then we also are going to get into our unsung stories here in about 40 minutes. Those are the stories on the internet that you have not heard of, but you should. we've got.
Because you be slacking on your pimping, I always tell you.
Are you still rapping? You're still making that happen.
Well, it's a little sing-songy now too. I'm getting in a little bit of the R&B.
I like that.
I'm a rapper with melody, as they say, kind of like R. Kelly.
Yeah, well, and again,
I don't want to be likened to
I was
R.
going to
Kelly
say
per se.
maybe a bad comparison.
In terms of my musical genius, I would like to be.
Just the music part.
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
Okay, good. So that's what we have. A lot of stuff here on the show. Before we get into our headlines, though, I think everybody remembers last week there was a huge story after the Super Bowl. Julian Edelman had that sex selfie. That was taken of him, and it was interesting that here recently we had our very own Chris Labrum from Screaming Goat Radio. I think you're familiar with him.
Yeah, vaguely.
He was actually in the middle of a sex selfie scandal. I think for people that heard our show last week, you had basically the Super Bowl of co-ed soccer.
Yeah,
was this past Sunday.
Man.
Huge game. I'm sure you had one or two, not dozen or 1,000, but one or two fans in the stands, which is 200% more than usual.
Yes, it was a rockin'.
Yeah, to witness basically the Super Bowl of co-ed soccer. You won, but the real story here is the aftermath.
We did.
And,
yes.
You would kind of mention on the show you might party, and
we were worried about that.
There was this basically viral explosion on Monday, and you basically got Edelman.
I got Edelman.
Yeah.
I got Edelman.
Yeah. It's a very hard thing to say, too.
This girl, I should say, I don't want to call names.
Yeah. Well, probably because you don't even know what her name was.
That may be why I'm stuttering a little bit. Yeah. Miss you, girl. She put me on blast.
Yeah.
She put me on blast after, we won the championship.
Yeah. Yeah, congratulations, by the
Thank
way.
You.
Not an easy
Thank
thing
you.
to
It
do.
was 2-0, 2-0. And
for the soccer fans out there.
Yeah, I had a goal in the second half that was the dagger. Just put the dagger through their heart. You could see their whole countenance just drop. Drop. They had no hope after that.
The girl in the wheelchair just couldn't get to it in goal, could she?
She could not, yes. So we partied. And
like a champion.
Just like a champion does. I was popping champagne bottles, spraying everybody. And at some point in time, things got a little crazy.
Now,
back at the house, you know what I'm saying?
Should we? Because we actually do have this picture that went out. This girl that you hooked up with after you celebrated put you on blast, put out a sex selfie.
You brought that here. I wasn't going to just add to the fire, but
yes.
you have it.
Our crack research staff, we have this, and so she put Chris on blast after the championship celebration. Can we show the picture? Can we put the picture up here?
If you don't have it, you don't have
to.
No,
we have it right here. Let's show it. Let's show it there. Oh, Chris, I know you were drunk, but
I mean, I was.
I would like to think that your standards.
But she was smoking, Kevin.
Oh yeah.
When we met at the bar,
how many drinks in was she smoking?
How many drinks in was I or her?
Well, honestly,
I wasn't keeping track.
We keep calling her she. Are you sure? Did you check to make sure? Because from that picture, I can't tell. I can't tell if it's a she or a he. I mean, you got Edelman by an it right now.
I'm not gonna be rude and be like, hey, you need to tell me whether you're a man or a woman or anything like that. No, I mean, like,
you didn't ask for any medical records.
I didn't ask for medical records. We felt the passion in that moment. People are people. You know what I'm saying? I'm in an equal opportunity post championship celebration sex employer.
That's a very complicated way to describe yourself. But
for me, it was
anyone's got a shot.
That's just the way it happened. I just didn't expect her.
Yeah.
To put me on blast like that necessarily, but that's just. It comes with the territory as a champion. It comes with the territory as a champion, so I can't be too mad because that's what happens. I made that girl's day. I made that girl's night.
Okay, you keep saying
I made that girl's
girl.
morning the next morning.
We don't know for sure she's a girl.
I don't know what you're talking about. I haven't seen this picture.
Can we put the picture up one more time, please? Okay, we can't.
I haven't seen this picture, but
we can't confirm that this is a girl. We don't know for sure.
When I woke up, she was gone. So. I don't read the news. I don't read articles about myself.
How are you not upset by this? She invaded your privacy. She basically used you to get her 15 minutes of fame, and there's There's no ill will. Like you might see her at the bar tonight, and maybe one thing happens, and then you end up going home with it.
Well, unlike Edelman, I'm a man of the people. I'm a champion of the people. So if this is something that's going to give her 15 minutes of fame, so be it. My fame's still there. People are talking about me right now, talking about me with this picture. You know what I'm saying? My story continues. My legend continues.
Okay, so how?
And it was fun, Kevin.
Yeah, well,
I don't even remember the types of things that we did.
Was it filmed? Did she film it, or do you have any idea? Do you remember a little red blinking dot, or what?
I don't know. You'd have to get in touch with her.
Okay.
I don't have her number.
We'll see if we can track him or her down, whatever that thing in the picture is.
Why do you keep saying that? Why do you keep saying him or her?
Because if it's a him, I don't want him to feel slandered that the whole time we referred to him as a girl on the show. I'm just, as you said, just trying to be equal opportunity.
Some women are like strong women and have strong features. Like just because they have strong features
like
doesn't mean they're a man.
Like a beard?
Maybe.
It's facial
There's
hair.
a lot of very successful bearded women across the country in circuses all across the country.
Okay, that's true. That's true. So maybe for all you know, you hitched your wagon to a famous bearded woman.
Maybe.
Okay, well, all right. Tell us why you were the hero of the game. Tell us the specifics of this championship run here that you got Edelman for.
Well, let me just tell you. So we met the champion from last season in the final. Champion from last season was undefeated.
And did they beat you last season in the finals?
No, we didn't play them in the finals last season. I'm just saying they went undefeated, won the championship last season. Then they were undefeated this season. They had beat us in the regular season. They were undefeated in the championship on Sunday. We were coming in as the underdog, okay? And they were threatening quite a bit. They were pressing hard most of the game. We had one fast break, as you may want to say, a counterattack, and one of our girls put a hard shot towards the goal, and in trying to just get it out, one of their girls accidentally...
Were there any guys on the field?
No, it was just girls.
Just you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Me and just that's how we make it co-ed. That's how I make this league that I run co-ed. It's just me and a bunch of girls.
You just play on every girl's team?
Yeah.
All right.
Accidentally, it ricocheted into the goal. So they actually scored on themselves and put the pressure on themselves in the first half, okay? I'm getting to the point where I'm the hero.
Okay.
Because that's not quite there yet.
Because you caused them to score on themselves again, and that's how you guys won?
Yeah, I distracted them with my body roll that people have seen on this show. And no, Kevin, I put one home. I slotted one in the corner with about 6 minutes left to put us up 2 goals.
Male or female goalkeeper?
Why does it matter?
I'm just curious. It doesn't have to matter. I'm just curious.
You're just curious.
Yeah.
Well, it's a female goalkeeper.
Okay.
Why is there judgment in your voice?
No, because they're better than I've heard you say that you have a hard time scoring, weaving through the female defense, scoring on the female goalkeeper.
Yeah, it's not as easy as you might think.
Yeah.
Women are distracting, Kevin.
So they were also. It's just basically everybody's dancing out. There's a soccer ball in the middle, and everyone's just trying to distract the others.
Yeah,
I should get in this league.
It's a very elegant game, Kevin.
Okay.
Maybe you should watch a little more soccer and a little less hockey, where people are just punching each other. It's a very beautiful, elegant game.
Okay. Well,
I slotted one home with 6 minutes left. There was too much. It was too much for them to surmount, and then we were the victors. And we got our picture taken afterward, and $100 to spend at the bar. And I got crazy with $100. I blacked out.
And then there was another picture taken.
And then apparently there was another picture taken.
Learn from Chris if you're out there,
lady.
and you've got to be very careful that you don't get Edelman yourself. So I'm sorry that happened to you, but
hey,
you're
don't be sorry. I'm a champ.
Your star is still burning very bright.
Yeah.
Here. So congratulations on the big win. So let's talk some headlines here on the show. First thing we have to talk about, Chris, is the Grammys here the other night. Now,
we don't have to talk about it.
The people have demanded that we talk about the Grammys on the show. They want to know what to believe about the Grammys. They look for us to give them their opinions, and we got to do it right now on the Grammys. Now,
well, I can tell you, it was basically just Sam Smith killed it.
Yes.
Beck is no longer a loser, and Kanye West is.
That is definitely true.
That's basically and then a lot of people performed.
It was basically it was a whole bunch of performances, and I was watching some of it. I forgot that it was an award show at one point because there was.
You're like, am I watching just a televised concert?
Yeah, it's just so many people performing.
Or like a telethon type thing where you're supposed to send in money.
I would wonder how they get some of these these nominations, how they decide who the winner is. Because I didn't even know Beck had a new album out. All right,
I didn't either.
And I don't know that even Beck is included. I don't know that anybody has actually listened to Beck's entire album, even including Beck.
Yeah, he just didn't quite finish it. He didn't quite listen to it.
Yeah, and then
he said, just put it out. Just put it out.
Yeah, and then he was album of the year, and he was what was the other one? Was
rock
it
album
best
of the year?
rock album of the year for an album that I don't think anybody. I mean, people have heard of Beck, but I don't think anybody's heard of Morning Phase. I couldn't tell you. Like, not even how one song goes. I couldn't tell you the name of one song on the album.
I didn't know that Beck was still alive. And I don't mean that in a bad way, because I wouldn't wish him dead, but I didn't know he was still alive.
I mean,
and making music, nonetheless.
He had his moment with Devil's Haircut, with Loser, and kind of like you, just off the radar until he pops back on and cleans up at the Grammys.
But see, the thing is that at the same time, I am not necessarily mad at that, like Kanye was, which is a lot of all I heard about afterward.
Yeah.
Was just all this Kanye business, how he sort of behaved himself, but sort of didn't, because he ran up on stage when Beck was announced, but then thought otherwise, whether or not it was totally just like he knew he was going to do that and not say anything, or in the moment he calmed himself down and like I'm not going to mess up again, so he went back down. But I don't know if you heard any of his interviews after the Grammys where he's sitting there saying that Beck needs to give that back or give it to Beyonce, and he doesn't deserve to win that. Well, this guy came back from the dead to make an album that nobody's heard of and still won. He deserves it if he still won.
I mean, it shows what an egomaniac Kanye is, that people think that, or that he thinks that people care at all about his opinion.
They keep asking him.
Yeah, well, the
media does.
I mean, I'm just shocked that he thinks people care. Plus, like, Beck literally, as you said, came back from the dead. I would believe that he played every single instrument probably on this album. He probably played he's running back there producing it. He's going to get craft services. Like, Beck's one of those musical guys. So
he played at least 4 instruments that you and I have never heard of.
Yes.
And couldn't pronounce.
Yes.
On that album. Yes, I agree with you.
And so the fact that that's not artistry, and Beyonce, who I'm sure had 10 other writers on that song, had a bunch of co-collaborators, probably some auto-tune. The fact that is artistry, and this is what Kanye wants to wave
that's
the banner
thing,
for.
Because she's an amazing performer. Like, you want to give credit where credit is due. She deserves what she's won. She's got a great stage show. She's got a great voice. She's beautiful. She's sexy. She's smart. She is talented.
A former SGR rivalry was there as well. So
yeah.
we're clearly taking the high road.
That's kind of
here.
why I'm kissing up. I feel bad about what we did to Blue Ivy.
Blue Ivy,
Ivy Blue, as you called her many a time on the show.
Yes. I didn't help things with that.
No.
That's for sure.
But she is talented in her own ways. But to say, to start calling out artistry, just like you're talking about, and that Beck isn't an artist, after everything you just stated about he plays 13,000 instruments and writes and produces his own songs and all that kind of stuff. I mean, the guy is an artist.
He is. And here's the other thing I was going to say. With Sam Smith cleaning up, I don't know if you heard this recently, but
I love Sam Smith.
Tom Petty is now credited with a writing credit for the song "Stay With Me." Because I believe
just right now he got credit for
the past couple weeks, is he had sued Sam Smith, and I'll have to check and see which song
he sued him,
which Tom Petty song it was. Maybe it was like "Won't Back
Free
Down."
Fallin'.
That was lovely, right?
Free ballin'.
But I believe it was "Won't Back Down." But
no, I won't.
Those songs sound so similar that now that Petty's camp had sued Sam Smith, and they were awarded some royalties.
Really?
And
I hadn't heard about this.
And now Petty's also credited with writing the song "Stay With Me."
So he won a Grammy then?
He basically won a Grammy. But here's what I was going to say. If you're smart, why isn't everybody just plagiarizing successful songs? Because, Sam Smith won Song of the Year. He won Best New Artist. He won 3 or 4 Grammys. He's sold out tours all over the country. Why don't you and I just take 11 successful songs, change a little bit, we'll blow up, we'll get huge, we'll give that artist, we'll give the Beatles and the Rolling Stones a writing credit. It'll say Kevin Campbell, Chris Labrum, and the Beatles.
Yeah.
And we'll give them half of the money we make, and sure, you and I will win all these awards, Best New Artist, Album of the Year, and we'll just give a nod to the Beatles. Like, I don't understand why more people aren't doing this. What's the downside for Sam Smith?
How do you think P. Diddy is P. Diddy? That's what he did.
That's true.
He's just like, you know what? I'm just going to sample old shit. I'm just going to take everything that was great about the music that I love from back in the day, and I'm just going to put it in all these songs. I'm just going to tweak it a little bit and then put it in there and give them credit. And he blew up, him and Biggie. I mean, it was all old stuff. It was like Isley Brothers made them.
Yeah. I mean, I'm saying that half jokingly, but also it really is a strategy to be successful. Take something that is working, change it a little bit, try it, and if you get sued, then say, oh, yeah, you caught me, but I'm still huge. Like, it's almost like your boy Pete Carroll, you know?
Whoa, let's think about what you're going to say here before you just blurt stuff out on the show here, on national radio, on the internet.
I'm not saying anything that's not out there already, that he used USC to get his gig at Seattle.
He used USC?
Well, the whole scandal at USC and all the sanctions that were coming in. He obviously was not playing fair, Chris.
Like every other college coach in the entire
he's the one that got caught. He's
not the only one that got caught.
He was not entirely. No, I'm saying, but he
There's
got
been
caught.
Plenty.
So he was not entirely playing fair. He used the USC program and the success they had to elevate him. And right as the sanctions come down, he jumps to Seattle. So that's all I'm saying about.
Seattle needed a coach too. I mean, did they fire their coach on purpose to get him out of there?
Well, Pete Carroll wasn't penalized for anything.
He had coached in the NFL before he even went to USC. I mean, how is he just using USC to get to the NFL or to go to Seattle? He already coached in New England and had a winning record there.
But he definitely
turned the USC program around. He made it a powerhouse. It showed good coaching, a good system, which now he's winning Super Bowls in Seattle.
But maybe some questionable decisions around his integrity, what he was doing with the college program.
I don't even know what we're talking about. I mean, this doesn't seem to have any bearing. It seems like you're just trying to needle me about the Seahawks again, like any chance you get. I don't know how this relates to sampling music.
Just it's him using something with maybe not entirely full integrity in mind, kind of like Sam Smith. Who knows? Maybe there was part of him that knew he was sampling some of the Tom Petty, used it to elevate his star a little bit, and now he's going to benefit from it.
So by turning USC into a perennial powerhouse college football team, he used them by turning them around?
Well,
he used them? I think he made them.
Arguably.
And then was rewarded for making them.
USC is an institution, though. That's one of the top college programs. Has been one of the top college programs.
I think you could probably make a better argument talking about like TV and movies these days. Like you had one successful thing like CSI, and now you've got 35 billion procedural shows where they just take one small little thing and tweak it. It's like, okay, well, this is a doctor like House. We're going to make a show just like that where we have this genius guy, but instead of him being a doctor, he's going to be a pathologist.
Yeah, the Pete Carroll effect.
Oh, yeah. Is that what it's called now? It's being called the Pete Carroll effect, or are you trying to coin that?
Do you like Nick Saban?
Good luck, buddy.
Do you like Nick Saban?
I hate Nick Saban. No, I'm just kidding. I respect Nick Saban. I don't have a problem with Nick Saban.
I don't know. You know, like we'll have to get into
I do have a problem with him just like bailing, on without sanctions, bailing without sanctions.
Here's one thing that I will say, and Carroll's
Miami or wherever he bailed from.
And Carroll's not the only one, but it sucks that they can't find a way to punish the coaches that are in charge of these programs, like a Nick Saban, like a Pete Carroll. When there are infractions, the schools get punished, the kids get punished. Nothing really happens to the coach.
Yeah, it's such a sad, sad thing. It is. I feel so bad for him having turned around the Seahawks program as well and winning a Super Bowl, going to another one. This guy just needs to be punished for good coaching. He needs to be punished for good coaching.
I can't win any arguments with you and your beloved Seattle Seahawks. And that was a huge tangent brought on by me. I will take responsibility for the.
Yeah, you just don't like anything to do with the Seahawks. That's fine. I get it. Jealous, bitter Washington Redskins fan.
We are terrible. I am very bitter. That's definitely true. So a couple more headlines here before we get into J.T. Bach and we start talking about the Oscars. But we had Brian Williams, somebody that's probably not going to win any awards here anytime soon.
Not anytime soon.
He is off the air for the next 6 months, suspended without pay by NBC, and really kind of a shocking story how this developed. I mean, one of the most respected people in news, seemed like a ton of integrity.
And ton of personality. He was kind of like a star. I mean, he was just had that it factor.
Yes. And then it was kind of, discovered here recently that a lot of the things he had said, years ago about, specifically, I guess, being in a helicopter and just taking enemy fire, it's found out that he has embellished / lied about a lot of the facts about himself personally of what he's been through and kind of how he kind of cut his teeth coming up. And for a newsman like this, you obviously have to have integrity, and everyone's questioning his integrity. So NBC came down on him and suspended him for 6 months without pay.
It's like he's now more so like your crazy Uncle Brian who kind of gets drunk at Thanksgiving and tells these stories that you're like, sure, Uncle Brian.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. You saved a cow who was being eaten by a lizard the size of Kentucky and almost had your foot cut off by a dwarf while you were running.
Good old crazy Uncle Brian.
Crazy Uncle Brian.
All those stories change every time. Yeah, it is pretty shocking. I mean, and you kind of wonder, well, how many other people out there then,
Yeah, that's what it makes me think about.
Stories.
Because they, on some level, it's hard to just be a news reporter with integrity. You need to get the scoops. You need to have the big stories. You need to have these. You need to go abroad and be in the thick of things and be in a cave in Afghanistan with a lighter talking to somebody in order to really get ahead and get known. You need that main interview that nobody else gets. I feel like there's all this pressure. Who knows what some of these other people have said, embellished, tweaked a little bit in order to get ahead, because they, it builds you up. Like, oh, wow, that was crazy.
Well, and I think a lot of it, too, is that a lot of the news guys are just talking heads. Like, it's not like a show like The Tonight Show with Fallon where you're going to bring a lot of personality and there's going to be bits and you're going to be funny. Like, you're a very serious talking head, so there's not a lot to separate you from one host to the next host. So I think maybe he felt like this was his way to really separate himself, that he was the guy in the thick of things. He was the guy under fire. So that's how he had to celebrate, or he had to separate himself. I mean, the interesting thing is here too, of like how much of this, and he said that his memory, that it was just, it was kind of blurred between what he was reporting on and his own personal experiences. So then, I mean, do you think that he is lying about that, or do you think that there is something to be said for almost kind of embellishing early on, and then you're telling a lie that then suddenly you believe is true? And maybe he told this story for so many years that maybe he did believe it's true.
He just convinced himself, you're saying?
No, I mean, I'm just saying he
was in a helicopter,
his
like
argument,
eating sushi and caviar, just kind of looking down, and then he started telling himself so many times that they actually went under enemy fire and had to almost crash land, and then just like, oh yeah, that is what happened.
His argument
I totally
is that
forgot that is what happened.
Is that he is, since, because it's been so long, he has blurred basically what he was reporting on and then his personal experiences.
What do you want him to say?
Well, yeah, I'm
curious. Mean, I guess we all want him to just be like, sorry, I lied. I embellished. Whatever. I lied. I embellished. That didn't happen. I mean, is that the way to go? Just nip it in the bud, like, I lied, I'm sorry, we're going to get over it eventually. We have got short attention spans, we're going to get over it? Or is he going to be kind of like, the truth is sort of a malleable thing, I don't really know.
It seems like that all the celebrities that come straight with everything and just admit to it early on always do the best. It's the ones that then the lie and then they kind of lie again, and it seems like the cover up
begets.
The cover up is always worse than the original lie. So for him, maybe just coming out and said, yeah, I was a young reporter, whatever it was now, 15 years ago, I thought I needed something to have an edge. Mm-hmm. I feel like would be a better approach, and then everybody's like, all right, that's done, he's suspended, and they can move on. But now that he hasn't admit to it, now that there's still this kind of like cloud of disbelief that's kind of surrounding him.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, after 6 months, he may be done.
Yeah,
Who knows? I mean, he's a big enough name. We'll see, but it may take some time. But what do you think? I mean, do you think that he's going to be back at the desk?
I don't think he's going to be back at the desk. I think that that's a very long time. 6 months. I think that Lester Holt, I think, is going to probably take over, and I would find it very hard to believe that he's going to be given his job when he comes back. I would imagine they're going to work some sort of settlement out, and then he's going to surface on some sort of cable news show trying to rebuild his image. But the one X factor here could be, if like Lester Holt takes over, I mean, it's all going to be ratings based, and if his ratings are down, then maybe they give Brian Williams another shot. That's the only X factor. But I would think after 6 months they'd work out some sort of settlement, and he would surface on some sort of cable news channel as he tries to rebuild his image.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I don't know if it would make any difference in that scenario, in terms of Lester and Brian. But I feel like I should at least mention it, that there was multiple times when I was in New York City that Lester Holt grabbed my ass in an elevator.
Really?
Yeah, a couple times. And I'm not even saying that in terms of like, it's just more like making a pass at me.
Okay.
You know? I'm not trying to say he's gay or anything like that, because I don't know that. He could be straight. I don't really know Lester personally.
Yeah.
But I just want to share my story, that usually every time I go to New York, Lester Holt grabs my ass in the elevator.
Could there be any chance there are any selfies out there of the two of you in there? Maybe could there be an Edelman?
So far, no elevator footage has shown up, like the Ray Rice thing or anything like that. But no, I'm just saying, like that's happened to me, and I'm not Brian Williamsing it.
No, yeah,
yeah, we are very.
This show's nothing if not full of integrity.
Yes.
And credibility.
You knew where I was going with that.
Yes. Everything that we've said on here is at least confirmed by one source on the internet.
One source.
At least.
Most often it's the Urban Dictionary.
Yeah. Sometimes even two sources.
Yeah.
But from the internet.
Snickypedia.
Yeah. Yeah. So, if you say if it comes out of our mouths, you believe it's truth. We have researched it. We've at least Googled that topic.
And look at us. We're still here. Neither of us suspended. No. Neither of us kicked off the air.
That's true. Not yet, at least.
Not yet.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah. We'll see if Lester comes back and...
Yeah. Maybe slaps you with a lawsuit, Will. I'll have to get him one of these chairs. So we're going to have JT Bach on here in just a second, but we should at least mention and maybe briefly talk about...
No, I don't want to hear about it. It's not true. It's not reality.
More bad news here, Chris. Someone that was not suspended, but someone that is going off the air, Jon Stewart, has announced that he is leaving The Daily Show. And, you'd be hard-pressed, I think, to find one person that's excited about this news or is at least indifferent. I feel like everybody thinks this is going to be a loss. He created an empire, an institution. That was one of the flagship shows of Comedy Central. And it's going to be sad to see him leave.
It's one of my favorite shows, man.
It's a really good one.
And he's so amazing at what he does. There wouldn't be this kind of, sadness and despair back when what's-his-name left, right? Who was before him? Like Craig Kilborn,
It was
maybe?
Kilborn,
It was
yeah.
Kilborn.
Yeah.
I think it was like, oh, okay, Craig's leaving.
Yeah. Well,
that's right. And then
he created The Daily Show. It was just another show on the air at that time. But now, The Daily Show has launched Steve Carell. It's launched Colbert. It's
so many people. We could go on
Ed
for an
Helms.
hour. Jason Jones and Rob Riggle and Larry Wilmore now has his own show. Who's the British guy?
Oh, John Oliver.
John Oliver has his own show now.
Yeah.
Samantha Bee. So many.
It's definitely going to be missed. He's going to be missed. I'm curious what he does next. What the next move for him is. But there's certainly going to be a voice that's missing now, and it was just great to watch him nail Fox News to the wall. That's one of the things I loved about that show so much, is him just exposing the ignorance when people are trying to pull one over on the American public, and him just pulling the curtain back.
And it was just a perfect blend.
Yeah.
Of actually. There's a lot of people that got their news from that show because they would actually give you news information.
Yep.
But in such a funny way. There was such a great humor about it. And then, like you said, when they were nailing Fox or somebody else, or just hypocrites, because they did it against Democratic parties too, if they were being hypocritical, etc. But just in such a great way. My question is, they say that it's going to continue on for indefinitely. The show will go on. How do you feel about someone taking his place? That person's got to be shaking in their boots in a sense.
Yeah.
Like, I can't follow this up.
Well,
I can't make this as good as it was.
Yeah, I think that they'll probably promote one of the Daily Show, like a John Oliver. I don't know what his contract is with HBO. I don't know if he would have the chance to get out of that, but I would think they would have one of their own in it. So then, there's some familiarity with the audience, and that that person doesn't feel like they're coming in totally cold to try to fill his shoes. So I would think of John Oliver. Or
who would you vote for?
Somebody like
from
that.
Within those ranks. Who would you?
Daily Show Idol? Is that what we're playing right now?
Yeah.
My favorite was always Colbert. He's obviously gone on to do, to take over for Letterman. But that would be, had he not announced that his show was leaving, then
that was your guy.
That'd be my guy. But I've fallen off a little bit. Maybe somebody like Jason Jones would be funny to give a shot. But I would imagine John Oliver. I think he's the one everyone would have the eye on. if his HBO show, now I don't know what his
They would
contract
just stop
there.
that? They would.
Well, that depends on what that contract is with that HBO show. I don't know if he could get out of that or not.
But let's say he could. You think that he should potentially do that? He's got his own gig. He's got his own thing. Like it's his own show.
Yeah.
No, it still kind of would be. It'd be the Daily Show with John Oliver. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm
I think
thinking
you do.
Pete
I
Carroll.
mean-
I'm thinking Pete Carroll steps in there.
Oh yeah. I don't know. You can't trust that guy though, Chris. I wouldn't want to work for
He's
him.
going to turn it around
Yeah. And then
because it needs turning around.
turn it around the other way. Uh-oh. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So we'll have to see what
No, I
happens
think
there.
I think Jason Jones or Samantha Bee. I think one of those two.
I
They've
never
been
liked
there a
Samantha
while.
Bee that much.
You don't like Samantha Bee?
No. Yeah.
What would you think about having a female on there though? I'm saying like as
I'd be all about that,
yeah,
Chris.
Yeah, putting you on the spot, dog.
I'd be all
Putting you
about
on the
that.
Spot.
I would be all about that.
You male
If
chauvinist.
they're good, if they're funny, I'm all about it. I'm good. So
Maybe we should ask JT Bach.
I think we should get JT on the show here. He is our resident box office analyst to go over the Oscars. The Oscars are about 2 weeks away, Chris.
Yes, they are.
Have you caught up at all on any of these films here? I mean, any of the best pictures? Weren't you saying you were going to try to watch some of them here? You were going to try to catch up on them?
Yeah, and since then I've still watched
done it?
Birdman.
Okay. American Sniper. You haven't seen American
Oh, I
Sniper.
did see American
Birdman.
Sniper. Yeah,
You said you
Sniper.
had seen that. Boyhood. Grand Budapest Hotel. Imitation
Boyhood, I
Game.
lived it. I don't need to see it. Grand Budapest Hotel. I've been in plenty of hotels. I don't need to see it.
Yeah, you've already lived
Imitation
those
Game.
movies.
Hey, right
Well,
now
maybe-
I'm imitating my best Ryan Seacrest. I've seen that movie. Selma. I should probably watch that one.
That I think you would help with. Well, maybe JT can help guide us here on the best pictures. And we're just talking about the Oscars. JT Bach here, our box
Is
office
he there?
analyst.
Is he there?
He is here on the
Hey,
line.
hi,
JT.
thanks for having me, boys. But it seems like you guys got it covered. I mean,
Well,
you
Chris.
know, from
yeah,
what Chris Labrum was saying, I mean, he's got it down, man.
he's apparently lived every single best picture.
You know how many times I've gotten whiplash in my fast ass ride?
How about American Sniper? Oh, you saw that one, so that wasn't one you lived. I guess that's the one you saw.
American Sniper?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Okay.
But I snipe people in other ways.
Okay.
You've seen 1 out of 8, then, right?
So essentially, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So why don't we start? Why don't we start there, JT? Start with Best Picture. Give us a rundown maybe on the ones you think are contending here, and then what your prediction would be.
Sure. I mean, if you look at what the Golden Globes have done, AFI, the SAG Awards, the recent BAFTA Awards, you have to kind of say that it's a 2-horse race right now, and that's between Richard Linklater's Boyhood and Birdman. And those two films have cleaned up in terms of the award circuit this year. Not far behind that, you'd probably put Wes Anderson's The Grand Budapest Hotel. So we're looking at 3 very major independent filmmakers that have kind of put out their best films of their careers. And so you have all 3 of those guys, with Wes Anderson and Alejandro. I won't even try to pronounce his last name. I just call him Alejandro G.I.
Yeah, I don't even think
That's
he
okay
can
with you
pronounce
guys?
it. So I wouldn't worry about it.
Iñárritu.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you guys can work with that. But that's what we're talking about. We're talking about those 3 films are probably the odds-on favorite to win. But Boyhood and Birdman, you could probably flip a coin. It seems like right now Birdman has the edge only because in the last 2 out of 3 years, The Artist won and Argo won, and those were insider, kind of Hollywood patting themselves on the back with the content of that film. And Birdman is definitely a descendant of that type of filmmaking. And often, as in the case in the last few years, Oscar doesn't mind handing itself an Oscar for being, wink, wink, a Hollywood film. But that said, I think Boyhood is the best film. What they did with that film is incredible, and it's one of those things that can only probably happen once. And everything else is obviously just garbage,
Well, that's in a
Sorry.
nutshell right there.
Yeah, you already have my printable Oscar ballot. I'm just checking these off as he goes. I'm going to win my pool on Oscar.
That's the
night,
only
thanks to
reason we're
JT.
having him on the show is so we can fill out our ballots.
Well, now we're gonna have to go to separate Oscar parties.
We are going to have to.
Yeah, forget the but you have seen American Sniper, and that's one of those films that obviously it's almost at 300 million at the box office, and that none of these other films are even going to hit 100 million. That's how far behind they are in terms of the box office, and that does give Sniper a chance. And it really is the only real Hollywood film in there. The rest are really independent films that were brought through the studio system, but certainly Clint Eastwood has done it before with with the crappy $1 Million Baby. He's been able to pull it out in a weak field, but the problem is this is not a weak field. This is a very strong field.
It is interesting that
contender.
It's interesting that you say that because I feel like that almost like the big blockbuster or the big budget are the ones that gross a lot. It's almost a knock against them, it seems like, for Best Picture. They usually want to go with the more artsy movies, the smaller movies, but you were saying that would actually give American Sniper a chance to win Best Picture because of the money it's grossed.
Yeah, and it's really the only thing, like in terms of like viewership, like half of the people probably haven't heard of 75% of these films that are going to be nominated. The only one they've seen probably is American Sniper. So it definitely has that going for it. But the problem is, the voters, to vote, you have to have seen every film. And I think in terms of actual voting, not that actually happens, but in terms of actual voting, these three films that I mentioned, Boyhood, Birdman, Grand Budapest Hotel, they're just far and away much better films. And honestly, the last film to win Best Picture that was the highest grossing box office film was
Terminator?
Slumdog Millionaire. The old Slumdog back in 2000.
That's a nice
so
little
it has
nugget.
been a while.
Nice. Well, hey, I want to ask you a hard-hitting question
Uh-oh.
about
Yeah, go for it.
about American Sniper. This is semi off topic of just the actual Oscar awards, but what are your thoughts on sort of the talk about this movie, sensationalizing a killer versus a patriot, etc., and sort of just telling his story?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of fascinating because, obviously Clint Eastwood, completely bought into the story. He had to make it, but he didn't really, he didn't take a side, really, in terms of what the film really is. And I think that's why it is working at the box office so well. You have red state, blue state, Democrat, Republicans. They all like this film for different reasons. And it's hard to say whether it's pro or con, and you can kind of read into whatever you want. And
Sure.
that's the mark of a good mugwump filmmaker, that you can sit right on the fence there, but you're selling tickets to everybody. And a lot of films don't do that. So I think that's why it's obviously a huge box office success. Whether or not this guy was the hero that he's kind of portrayed as is the question of the day, and that's part of the backlash against this film right now as well. And that I think that may hurt its chances in the end.
Go ahead.
No, you can introduce JT again. You can put it in there.
Well,
so
now-
people know who he is.
Now that you said that, there's no point doing it now.
Okay. Yeah, well, we're talking to JT Bach here. He is our box office analyst here, our specialist, our amazing kisser on the mouther.
He's got a new business card now.
Fluffer also. as
Fluffer
well.
also.
He's pretty good at that.
No, I was just going to say, so in that sense, you're talking about sort of just staying on the fence and not taking a side. I can see that must have been what happened with 12 Years a Slave and why they cleaned up. Because they didn't take a side on whether or not like slavery was bad or not. They just kind of made a movie about slavery and let us all decide.
Chris,
They just showed it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's that worked. It was weird because Gravity won everything else, and everybody just kind of assumed that it would win Best Picture as well. And then 12 Years a Slave ended up taking it. But that happens at the Oscars a lot. It's weird. Like one film will clean up, but then not get the Best Picture, and that happens. And there's a lot of mistakes made, as I mentioned, Slumdog Millionaire, Crash back in the day when that film won. And, nobody really considers those the greatest films of the day. But in terms of if you pick Boyhood, Birdman, or Grand Budapest, I don't think you could argue with any of those.
So that in talking
they're all solid films.
Yeah.
About
Now,
Clint,
if Whiplash wins it, nobody has seen that film. So
We will all have whiplash.
we'll delete that out.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
yeah,
We'll edit that out.
can you guys edit that? Okay. Yeah.
And so, we're just talking about American Sniper and talking about Clint Eastwood, and he's not nominated for Best Director. Was that a snub, do you think? And then where do you see that Best Director winner going there?
Yeah, usually when you have Best Picture, there's a creative force behind that, but maybe since he's been nominated so many times, they're sharing the wealth a little bit. If you think in terms of what Richard Linklater did with Boyhood and to make a film over the course of 12 years and to make it one so poignant and touching and and just right on the nose in terms of what he is about as a filmmaker and defining him as a filmmaker. It is this film, and that's some people just never even do that in the course of their career. So the fact that he pulled that off with Boyhood, I just think is just, it's a cut above what the rest of the people did. Nobody does that, and it was kind of crazy to think that he actually got funding to do it. And that there's a reason why IFC Films released that movie, is because nobody else would touch it. Nobody else knew what he had with that film. Most of the time they're picked up by a Fox Searchlight or Focus Features, one of the big indie distributors, but IFC rarely has a film that grosses over $1 million, and this one's hit $25 million. So it's a pretty special film, and I think he'll be rewarded for that.
JT, who do you have in best makeup and hairstyling?
Whoever has the fake nose, and I think that's Foxcatcher, right?
Foxcatcher, okay, but yes, there we go. So that would be
down
Bill
the
Corso and Dennis Lydiard. Bill Corso. There we go.
It's whatever. Yeah, because it probably should go to Guardians of the Galaxy. So it's always exactly the opposite.
I like it. See, that's what I was going to ask you. Do you compete? Do you compete in these ballots, these Oscar ballots, and just kill it and clean house?
I'm gonna admit that I usually do win. So, but that's more research than anything else. First of all, you got to see more than 1 out of the 8 films. That's step number 1. And then second is, read everybody else's predictions and why they predict them. And then kind of gain your own sense of what you think. So yes, though usually I win, and then my dad. I usually have a family pool, and then my dad cheats, and he ends up winning, and then no money exchanges hands. That's just how it works in family. But in the real ones, yes, I usually win or take second.
How does your dad cheat? Does he influence the Academy? Is it that high up? He can get people to win?
He just uses he marks his in pencil.
Oh,
and that's
and then he races.
He's old school.
He's old school.
Yeah, you're pathological, Chris, with your cheating. My goodness.
He just does the old erase. Okay, I got it.
Going it.
Got it.
Yeah, that's why you can't.
You're taking it to another level. But when you think of American Sniper and its best chances, Bradley Cooper is probably the best chance to take home an Oscar for Best Actor. The problem is Eddie Redmayne in The Theory of Everything. When you have a physical deformity plus really good acting, that's like 2 in 1, and nobody else really has that. Yeah, although Michael Keaton is amazing in Birdman, it still doesn't match what Eddie Redmayne did. So he might just steal that. But Bradley Cooper, I think, is definitely in the discussion.
But let me ask you, if Michael Keaton would have had an actual beak in Birdman, then he's got a physical deformity, he'd be a shoo-in then, is what you're saying.
Yeah, he would. I mean, he plays 2 characters. To be fair, he plays Birdman and he plays, himself. So there's definitely you can make an argument that he's playing 2 roles.
He also does some nice voice work.
He throws a lot of stuff against the wall, and that's always good Oscar bait.
He does a great impression of Bane from Batman as well. He does that great.
Yeah.
So
he does.
So
but. Out of that film, if it doesn't go to Keaton, Edward Norton as the supporting character, I would probably tip my hat to him. He's just so good.
He was so good in
the role of an actor who is totally consumed with himself. Not that you guys know what that's like, but that.
Yeah.
Chris is looking in a mirror right now, so.
I'm sorry. What were you saying,
Not
JT?
even listening. Yeah. That's your pick then, JT? Edward Norton?
Was it about me?
I
for
think,
best supporting actor?
I think Norton or Labrum take it.
Yeah, I saw Chris wrote his name in.
I'm a write-in.
Yeah,
I'm going to win the first ever
He's a
write-in
write-in for every single category. I just saw his sheet.
Yeah, it's always a consideration. If you can get enough going, that write-in candidate is legit. It's totally legit.
Grassroots marketing campaign, Chris.
Yeah, it really is.
Well, everyone talks about all the big ones, all the big categories, best actor, best film, this and that. Are there any other races that you're interested in that you really like, or even maybe just this year that you're could be a close race, or that you're interested in seeing who wins?
It always that the editing and cinematography are always kind of interesting. I think Grand Budapest takes cinematography. I mean, a lot of times they share the wealth a little bit, especially when there's so many good films. So I think that is going to happen. So I don't think you should, if you do make your picks, I don't think you should load up with 7 or 8 for any one film. I think it's going to be spread out across the board. But that said, we already covered the best one, which is best makeup.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
when you look at best visual effects, it's like, Guardians of the Galaxy, Captain America, X-Men, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Interstellar. I mean, it's so impossible to choose out of those. And that's where you really make or break your Oscar pool. It's in the best sound and best sound editing. And the only thing you can say about those usually is that they will latch on to another film that is maybe gets a lot of Oscars. So Birdman is really the only one that's up for best sound and best sound editing. Mm-hmm. Boyhood and Grand Budapest aren't there. So, I might go for Birdman in both of those categories. Although that's where American Sniper is in too. So maybe American Sniper gets a couple of those awards because, man, when you crack that gun and, that reverb, I mean, come on. Ooh. How is that not the best sound ever,
Yeah. We shoot guns in the studio. We know what that's about.
Yeah, exactly. So that's always interesting. But, then it always comes down to, the best documentary or best documentary short. And honestly, man, that's guesswork. That's your classic, I don't know the answer, I'm picking C guesswork. And usually, obviously, if it has anything to do with World War II or Nazis or the Holocaust, you've got to go with that one. That's picking 101.
Do they have that this year? I haven't watched them. So which one's the Holocaust Germany movie that in that category?
I haven't done my research yet.
Oh, okay.
But, the day before, when I really get down to it and look at the best documentary short subject or best feature short the best short film, then I'll just go through the bylines. But honestly, those films are released around here as a big group, and you can go watch them all in one day. Although I don't think that's really going to help you make a pick, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I'm just going to do it in pencil initially.
Yeah,
no, pencil's the way to go.
End up tying JT's dad at the end of the competition. Yeah. Now, I was going to ask here, JT, as well. Is there any sort of correlation to predicting Best Picture? Like, typically, if this category wins early in the night, it's almost a nod to one of the big, heavy awards later on. Are there any of those correlations that have seemed to existed?
Yeah, it definitely used to be that case, and I think everybody thought last year when Gravity won all those early awards, it was winning all the visual ones, and it was pretty much cleaning up, and that's why I think it was a surprise that it was 12 Years a Slave. We really haven't seen anything clean up for a while. I mean, Argo did pretty well, but not since The Departed, Scorsese's film back in 2006. Has a movie or like Titanic really swept the Oscars. It just doesn't happen anymore. So that's what I'm saying. You don't put all your eggs in one basket for this because it just doesn't happen very often. And like I said, the competition is too spread out. With all these other awards shows, we're seeing everything spread out across the board between those with Grand Budapest, Boyhood, and Birdman. So that's probably what's going to happen at the Oscars. I don't see one of them as a clear winner in all of these. It's going to be kind of a crapshoot out there.
If there's no clear frontrunner, Chris, that might help your chances of Chris Labrum winning one of these categories. If a lot of the votes are spread out, over a lot of the finalists,
I'm actually feeling more positive about my chances.
You might want to rent a tux for that day, just in case.
Yeah.
If you win for Best Picture,
I'm not going to write a speech, quote unquote.
No, that's always good. Yeah. No, go from the heart. From the heart is always the best.
Or you should go up there and you should play on a violin the music that they play, right as they pull somebody off stage.
I'd be like, sorry, I gotta go, but thank you so much.
Yeah. Well,
that is a great idea. Yeah, start play them, and what are they going to do? Nobody will know which music is which. And they can't kick you off.
I like this. Yeah.
And then I have Oscar on my mantle.
Well, please, Chris, you have to bring him in here if you do win him. I'd like to see him. Can we get you on the show, JT? Will you come on the week after the Oscars just to break all this down right here? We can either be very, very grateful because we won our Oscar pools, or very angry at you if you gave us bad advice here.
Yeah, he could have been misleading us this whole time.
Yeah, let's definitely do that, and let's get our picks out legitimately in ink before that, so then we can go over them and see who wins. All
right.
Oh, we're gonna battle this guy.
Wow. Should we do one SGR?
Should we do an SGR?
I think we should.
Should we all three of us, like me versus you versus him versus me,
and see,
like a three-way?
I feel like our half brains would equal one brain against JT's full movie brain.
So SGR versus the master.
Maybe we do an SGR versus
the guru.
Yeah. This is gonna be great. Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do the three.
Yeah, I got a feeling we're already gonna have 6 or 7 of the same picks, unless he was trying to mislead us.
Unless he was misleading us.
Yeah. But then we'll have to have...
Actually,
We'll
I
have to-
totally was. I'm down with Selma all the way. You know that, but that's just between you and me. We're off the air, right?
I got
Oh,
to
wait,
change
yeah.
that one now. Yeah. Well, JT Bach, our box office analyst, thank you so much. All just constantly good information here, and we'll have to have you on here right after the Oscars. We'll see who wins our Oscar pool here, JT. So thanks a lot for the info, and we'll have to see what happens here leading up to the Oscars.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, guys. Talk
All
soon. Bye.
Don't forget to bring your gun. We're going to
It's
shoot him
on.
off.
Oh,
We're going
yeah.
to shoot him off in
I gotta
studio.
Got to register that thing.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to register guns, Chris?
I
didn't-
guess. I don't know.
I mean-
seems silly.
I know.
Seems like a lot of paperwork.
We've never done that before.
Yeah.
You just buy a gun and you can shoot it, right? Isn't that the deal?
Yeah.
I thought so. So yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to put an SGR ballot together, and we'll have to see how that compares to
Put our
JT's
two
right there.
half heads, half
Yeah.
brains together, as you say.
Man, Chris, you know what? With all this fun, all this Oscar talk, we have run out of time to get to our unsungs here on today's show.
We are notorious false advertisers
We are, yeah.
on this show. Notorious.
The last thing that we say on the intro, like people just have to assume that's not going to happen. I think.
people tune in just to see what we're not going to talk about that day.
Going to get to.
They just listen to the intro and be like, "Oh, today it was unsung."
Well, we'll promise to not get to that next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have to. I'm gonna
had
be
a Florida story here.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna be gone next week. I'm gonna be in Florida.
You're gonna go to Florida.
Yeah. So
You're going to get some,
exactly.
do some research for us. Get some
Yeah, LA Talk Radio's flying
on
me
the
there.
street, man on the street action for
Yeah,
us.
yeah. I mean, half our stories come from Florida, so I figure why not be on there in the Mecca?
Yeah.
So possibly we'll have a brand new SGR show here with Chris in studio. We'll have to see what happens. And
Well, if I can track down that girl, I might
she might be your co-host.
try to,
Will you-
confront her about this little
I thought you were going
selfie.
to pull the move where you just clear the desk off and you lay her down on the desk right for the camera. It's a whole new kind of show.
This is
Yeah.
a children's show.
So, all right, well, everyone out there, thanks for watching. We will see you guys soon.
SGR is out. See ya.
You're listening to Screaming Goat Radio with Kevin and Chris, right here on LA Talk Radio.